Like we're good.
Hey.
That was simple. Oh, no, it's going through the thing. All right, everybody, we are officially live. Let's see.
Time to pour.
We're officially live. Yes, perfect. I'm trying to master everything at the same time. I feel scared to do it because also, I see you swirling. And heads up, just please make sure everything, your YouTube, if you do have it on, if you can mute it for all the participants so that we won't have a double feed. And let me tell folks we're live. I feel like I did that prematurely last week, so. And heads up, just please make sure everything. All right, so welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name is Cha McCoy. Welcome again to our second week for United We Taste. We make it. We made it. I feel like I need a buzzer like the radio station. You know, like so yes, I will be your host. And Filipe and I, just to give you some history, thought about doing a virtual tasting group together because we both were studying actually Spanish wine, Rioja specifically, and connected on LinkedIn, and thought this would be a way to be able to challenge each other as we're studying, is that we can bring new wines of Rioja together and be able to at least share the wines we were tasting as we were studying. And then the idea kind of went global from that moment. It was like, okay, well, I also got friends in Italy, and then I got friends here, and we said, let's make this peer education a thing by inviting people that are also in quarantine and we can't join our normal tasting groups to be able to learn from each other. So again, I'm Cha McCoy on Instagram, Cha Squared Hospitality. I have a consulting business where I host wine experiences through travel, dinner series, and education. And I'm also a sommelier. I'm based in Lisbon, Portugal normally, but I'm currently being quarantined in New York City. So I'm gonna shoot it over to Filipe.
Yeah. Hi, good afternoon. I'm Filipe. I'm from a small town in Portugal called Águeda, in the middle of the wine region of Bairrada. Well, the passion for wine comes from when I was a little boy. Wine runs in my veins. I was watching and helping my grandparents and parents producing some garage wine, and we still do it, small scale. Currently a wine blogger and a consultant to some wineries in the region. So glad you join us. Let's do this. Let's taste some wine today.
And Julie?
Hi, I'm Julee Resendez, based in Amsterdam, Netherlands, originally from the United States. I grew up in Eastern Washington, well, Seattle, but my grandparents had a vineyard in Eastern Washington. And then I moved to New York, and I was a sommelier there for a long time and did all the things of like distributor, importer, supplier, and then moved to Amsterdam about 5 years ago and started an importing company. And I have an education school, which is a WSET. We teach levels 1 through 3, and it's all in English, and been hustling wine since I think I was born.
Okay. I say that all the time. The wine hustle is real. Pedro?
Hello, everyone. My name is Pedro. I'm originally from Brazil, and it's been 6 years since I've been living here in Lisbon, and did this movement in order to study wine. That was also always my passion. And now I'm the head sommelier in a 2-star Michelin restaurant called Alma, and very well. I'm glad to be here, part of the group.
Ariana?
Well, thanks, Cha, first of all, for bringing us all together. I can't say that this is what I would be doing on a Sunday, a month ago.
Right.
It's really a thrill to connect with so many different people and great to see you all. I'm Ariana. I'm also in New York. Technically quarantined for the past 2 weeks. I got back from Barcelona 2 weeks ago. I have a teeny tiny import company specializing in Spanish wine, mostly from emerging areas, but also do a lot of work in Priorat. And, I've been in New York since about 1996. I'm from Wisconsin originally, but I've been working in restaurants and retail that whole time until starting my own business in 2018.
Well, thanks for joining us, Ariana. Zoltan, the life of the party.
Hi all, my name is Zoltan. I am Hungarian. I'm living in Barcelona city 10 years ago. I'm a wine educator, same as you guys in Rioja and Sherry and Montilla Moriles, Cava, because I guess the Cava, it's a very fantastic sparkling wine, Spanish origin. And I'm a wine writer too. I wrote a book about wine queens, women in wine, 2017 in Spain, which is this tiny thing I hope most of you can see. Was the second best book of the world last year by Gourmand Awards. And I'm writing articles. I help people to social media. I'm content creator for different Spanish wineries, helping them, developing different strategies in marketing, and a huge wine lover. So I'm super happy because now it's wine o'clock, all right, I guess somewhere around the world, and being all with you together makes me so happy.
Thanks, Zoltan, for joining us for a second week. And thanks, Ariana, for the shout out. I think that this makes it, we are, in a way, like I mentioned before we went live, or putting on a show or a moment for people to kind of watch in. But technically, this is what we would normally do, is usually join with other educators, peer somms, to be able to challenge each other. And those who, whether you've seen Uncork the movie yet or not, well, how many of y'all in the boxes have seen the movie yet?
So bad.
I didn't.
My plan for tonight.
Plan for tonight. No one else saw it yet?
I saw part of it and I turned it off.
Okay.
Yeah,
But the point is not to talk about the movie.
Two thumbs down.
To talk about the moment that happens in the movie that maybe will go over a lot of people who are not in the industry aware of, which is where he joins a tasting group with people who don't look like him, who basically the wine is what connects him to this guy who obviously is from a different financial status, I guess they allude to in the movie as well. The female that's in the group, she was also a person of color. She could have been of Indian descent of sort, but they don't give you too much information. And I think that that's the point, is that maybe if you're not in the industry, you're not aware that that group setting is your community. That's the people who you learn from, who challenge you, who challenge your palates. You hope someone's going to bring an interest in wine that you can't afford, so you can drink it for free. So that's the reason why this is not being at the table together and actually able to drink with each other, but we're doing it in spirit by having this virtual version of it. But that is a moment to share, because maybe it's a trip that someone just recently went on that you maybe can't afford to go on, and they can tell you a little bit something deeper. And so we wanted to make this that moment, like us sharing with each other still, because we miss that. We're not in the room together. We can't join with more than 2 people, according to New York rules now, I think. And so we want people to still connect and at the same time be in solidarity with those who are actually living in the countries that's in quarantine and lockdown. And all we see, especially in US in the news, is the number ticker of how many deaths just happened every day. Now that's like literally the top feed. I have no idea what's happening with any of the other problems in the world that was happening pre-corona. And so we don't know if they're being solved or not, et cetera. But right now the main focus is on this. And we know this is, not to get too conspiracy theory on you, but the intention is that it can be used politically as a way to direct us in on a different agenda, right? We already know that. So, so without going too much into that, I'm gonna let Zoltan go in and share with us how it's been as far as the rules and regulations in Barcelona you could even give us an update from last week to this week, since this is your second time with us. I see that you're not on the terrace. Last week, you joined us from the
I
terrace.
am, and I will show you now too, the same. I will do that because, you know, I am very lucky. I was talking before with, before you guys going on. So Barcelona City now, we are lockdown. I'm now 17 days ago. Okay, so I hope you can see, I have a super tiny rooftop. Okay, and as you can see outside, it's like ghost city. And I'm luckily, I'm not gonna say the street exactly because a lot of people will show on my rooftop. But what I wanted to show you is even in the city center, you know, it's empty. And luckily, that's why I guess we do this. Like we ask people to stay home because it's the best way to help this stupid virus die, you know?
Right,
And just today, this morning, I was reading the news, okay, in Barcelona City. And Catalonia, the region where I am, which is close to Barcelona City, right, was more than 830 dead people one day. So in 24 hours, 830. The exact number was 834, okay, in one day. So now it's more than 6,000 deaths in the whole country. And first focus was Madrid, which is the community of Madrid, very big, like, of course, as a capital. And the second one is where I am in Barcelona City. Hopefully, they say this is minimum 1 more month. I hope it's a month, but it's going to be super hard because this is large, as you can see. Why? Because the people don't stay home. As you know, Spain is a very social country, you know, where the people love to go up and down, and we have good weather, and most of the people is moving. But I guess through these wine conferences and wine time together, they realize it's so important to stay home because it's the only thing what we can do, you know, speak the universal language, which is Winese. And it's a hard time. It's really hard time. We are locked down. We just can go out to buy some food in emergency. Like, for example, if you have to go to pharmacy or buy something, but you really cannot move, you cannot jogging, you cannot run, you can just, you know, throw the garbage and really limited things you can do. Because as you can hear, it's a super strong time.
So when did they change to the, or we could just speak to your, where you're located. When did they change the rules to, you can't even walk around the block or I guess leave your building? And I'm assuming we heard last week about in Italy, a lot of people couldn't go outside, but they had to use a permission slip. So is that not being allowed or not the case for you?
If you have to go work, because you guys still know some industries is still allowed to go working. So the same, these people, they have to show a permission. They have like a special paper and it's still here the same, but in case like you don't have the paper and the police office stop you, you have to tell them where you go. And two things are allowed: to go to the pharmacy for an emergency issue or go shopping on a supermarket, or still some local markets are open close to Barcelona. And in the city, we have 11 local markets where still of these farmers and growers, they are working hard for us, like having all of these fresh fish, vegetables, and everything. Because I guess, and I know it's super important to still support small, tiny, you know, family-owned businesses, which survived so many years. So I'm not against the supermarkets, but I still think this, you know, people who they risk their life because finally to go still nowadays working, you still have a lot of contact with these people and they do it. And I always buy in these markets.
I had a question about wine shops. Is there any wine shops that you are aware of, or people just going straight to purchase wine, even for yourself, straight at the supermarket
Yes,
level?
last week when we did this, I went to buy from a local shop. And they, of course, shut down door and you just log down or you call them, you know, or they have a bell and you ring and they still can give you. But I know more and more they had to shut down because of this official requirement from the government. And from Monday, I heard this morning in the news, just very, very few people can go out because as you heard, it's more than 800 people died, only Barcelona one night. So it's getting stronger and stronger, the virus, and they limit more and more what we can do.
That's a question. So I'm not discrediting the fact it's 834 deaths in one night. I'm not saying this by asking this question, but we're hearing conflicting reports from around the world that it's only a certain age group and whatnot. So is it a varied age group or whatnot, or?
Yeah, here they were saying most of the people who died because of the infection are 65 plus.
Okay.
And most of them, they had some other healthy issues.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm trying to get a grasp on, like, you know, like you hear all these conflicting reports and like trying to figure out what's actually the truth about certain things.
I guess on my end, I heard about two nurses. I guess at this point, listening to the news is like straight propaganda. You know, it's whatever your local government wants you to hear. So from asking two nurses in the field, what do they see? She said it's the husband saying that the wife comes home every night basically crying, and that she's now put 8-year-olds on ventilators. So I guess that whole idea that, yeah, only the older or elderly are the ones that's dying is not the case in her particular hospital, and that's here in New York City. But I'm sure, without knowing much about, let's say, the group of 8-year-olds that she's seeing, or, you know, young kids, maybe they already had pre-existing conditions. I think if you have a pre-existing condition, no matter what age you are, that's kind of the first group that seems to be mostly or heavily affected. So without going too much into this conversation, I guess I wanted to bring on Ariana just to speak about what has been, because talk about where the producers, I know you said you just flew in from Barcelona, but the producers are not in Barcelona that you're working with, and how is this having an effect on them?
Well, you know, it's really interesting because this trip I just got back from started in February 19th. I flew into Madrid, and to be honest, you know, before leaving, I had conversations basically with my family, my partner. Is it a wise time to travel? This is before coronavirus had really seized upon Italy and Spain in the way it has now, right? And so it was like a little seed in the mind that there is this thing going on, but really more on our minds in the wine world at that moment were the tariffs and everything we had kind of been fighting through to get the clear to do business. And so I was heading to Spain trying to get everything back on track from that perspective. Okay, we're doing business, 25% tariffs, let's go, you know, thinking kind of crafting strategy on that end. And then as the weeks passed, it was just an ongoing trickle and intensification of that trickle into what's happened now. So I started in Madrid, and I was in the Sierra de Gredos, where I work with a handful of people. And at that moment in February, it was sort of business as usual. You know, people are pruning or finishing pruning, depending on where they are. And kind of just looking forward to the season ahead. And from there, I flew into the Canary Islands, and I actually landed on the island of La Palma at the moment the story dropped from the Tenerife hotel.
Wow.
And I landed to all of these messages on WhatsApp, some being like, shit, are you in Tenerife? And some being like, you should probably leave now. And at that point I thought, this is ridiculous, right? I'm not going to leave. But as it progressed from there, you know, with all of the other events that a lot of people were coming to Europe for, tastings with pro wine in Germany, and all kinds of events really going on, started talking to colleagues, and everything was getting canceled, and I kind of realized what was coming. And so my reaction when things get strange is to always go to Priorat, to go to Catalonia, to go to kind of like a spiritual safe zone and try to figure out what was going on. And by then people were kind of realizing this virus was becoming a bigger thing. At the same time, on the ground with producers, this is a very busy time of year. They're working hard in the fields. A handful of people I work with are bottling. That agricultural business, and in fact the kind of more urgent parts of the wine business, the bottling, the labeling, etc., is going on, and it's still going on right now. But by the time I left exactly 2 weeks ago, the whole country was shut down in terms of people being forced to stay inside or being ordered to stay inside. And so it went from like pure normalcy on the 19th of February to driving almost 2 hours from Bairrada to Barcelona and really not passing another civilian car. It was all trucks with commercial merchandise, a few other rental cars, right? People like me trying to get home, trying to get to the airport, but everything was quiet.
Yeah, I was watching this on your Instagram.
Producers, it's like it's this sort of remarkable kind of marching forward of the agricultural side of wine, where there's a 1 person per car rule. So even if you're going to work in the fields, you can't be going with your assistant or your vineyard manager. Everyone's going on their own, or they can be stopped and fined. One of my producers in Bairrada just reported that he and his assistant winemaker were stopped and had to kind of talk their way out of a massive fine for being in the truck together coming back from the vineyard. So it's being taken really seriously, but rural workers are still, moving forward. And so there's something refreshing about that, right?
Right.
At the same time as we're in our apartments in cities, everyone is going to work in the fields and keeping that moving.
Do you think that it's even safer? I mean, it's funny because people say, oh, maybe because New York City is obviously the epic center of America now. So to be honest, people are like, whoa, maybe it would have been easier if you stayed where you were, because Portugal, to be honest, the numbers are still low compared to other countries in Europe. Sure. But also being in rural Spain versus being in Barcelona, like Zoltan, maybe it's safer to be in these kind of rural areas versus being in, major cities. So I don't know if did you give that any thought, Ariana, or did you really just think, I got to get the hell out of here so I won't get stuck here for 4 months? What was your, I'm just curious.
To be sure, I was sure that where I was safer than New York, especially when I landed in JFK from a totally abandoned kind of cityscape in Barcelona. You land in JFK and the place is packed. Uber drivers, taxi drivers, tons of people sitting in traffic on the way home to Brooklyn. And I was thinking like, oh God, we are so screwed, like we're so behind the curve on this response. Even in Spain, they're saying they're behind the curve on the response, but they're so far ahead of, for instance, where we've been here. But to be sure, as I was trying to reorganize my travel and get home, I was certain that being in a town of 80 people who were very much kind of aware of what was going on and minding their business, minding their elders, restaurants were closing. If I had any rights whatsoever on the ground, as a non-resident, as a non-citizen, it didn't feel like an option to stay there and put weight on a system that was not directly responsible for me. That also felt really irresponsible, not to mention that I had my family and boyfriend here worried sick. But to be sure, I think the rural areas will be also affected when the story is told. I mean, we're talking about that in America here too, that right now it's kind of the coasts and the bigger cities really straining under the infection rate, but no one will be spared at the end, I'm sure, and that at the end of the day, if anything does happen in the rural areas, they don't have the resources that cities have. Even though strained, there are more resources in the population centers.
Zoltan, I don't know if there's anything more you wanted to add on the state of Spain before we go into the tasting, or even Pedro, because you just mentioned you were in Rioja, right, recently too. So I don't know if there's anything you want to add to this conversation before we get into tasting.
No, it's really funny. Really a similar experience from Ariana's. It was 2 weeks now today that we flew back in from Barcelona, and
Wow.
we did go to Resendez and Bairrada. My wife and I, it was our wedding anniversary, so we had the trip planned.
That cute.
Thanks. And well, things were a little chaotic, but we were like, hey, don't worry, let's do it,
Yeah.
let's go. And because we were not, we only spent a couple of hours in Barcelona. We arrived on a Thursday, and then Friday morning we went to Penedès, and then Saturday Priorat, and then on Sunday we were back from Priorat. Left. The plans were to leave the rent-a-car and then spend 3 days in Barcelona. So then we just went straight to the airport, anticipated the ticket, and then flying back here to Lisbon. It was funny. We got here Sunday night, and then Monday morning, I go out to walk my dog, and I see like bakeries open, 4 restaurants, a jewelry store, lingerie store, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what's happening here? People are not, but they're like 3 days in after that, it was like the complete lockdown. Right now, I go out twice a day to walk my dog, just like around the block, like a 10-minute walk. Some supermarkets are open and pharmacies. And hey, so then again, when I came back on that Monday, the following Tuesday, there was the meeting at my restaurant at Alma, and then I called the chef, and then I said like, hey chef, 1, I'm on vacation. 2, I'm quarantined because I was just out of the country. He's like, yeah, you're really irresponsible or whatever. I'm like, hey, I was in wine country, and so like, and then to looking things here, I was better there than I'm right here, and the restaurant closed that day, that Tuesday. And so they were still taking in people and lots of tourists from all over the world.
Oh.
So I was like, hey, once again, you guys are more screwed than I am. So let me stay home and give me whatever heads up of the meeting. But then it was just like, oh, we're closing. We don't know when we're going to open, et cetera, et cetera. So it was like that kind of meeting that should have been an email, but okay. And so, hey, well, the good news was that came with some good wines from Penedès and Priorat.
You like, which I can't wait to share, and I'm glad I opened.
Of course. And it's funny that also this weekend, I'm just on a break. Yesterday and today, we're making like a digital wine fair here in Portugal. So it's 15 sommeliers talking to 30 producers. Each of us
In Portuguese.
All Portuguese? Well, there's actually
No, but what language you speaking in Portuguese though?
It's in Portuguese. It's in Portuguese. It's in Portuguese. There are 3 last-minute Brazilian producers that joined in, but then they just joined live feed tasting there in Brazil. They don't have the bottles here, but hey, it was lots of fun, and lots of people that are quarantined. Like so, lots of the comments like, oh, thank God, something to fight the boredom. Hit me with wine info or whatever. So
Right.
It's been lots of fun to share, and people are finally like looking up to us sommeliers for information, and we're uniting just right like how we are right now worldwide. And
Right.
I think it's a great opportunity for us to communicate our love and passion for wine. So thanks once again for having me here, and it's been a pleasure to be here, and very well.
Oh yeah, you don't got to show anybody but Zoltan in your glass. He's ready to drink all the time. So once he see that, he's like, oh, that's the clue. Get the wine. You know, he's like, that's what I'm waiting for.
Okay, no more glass. We're
Which
going
one
up.
should we drink?
Yeah, I'm a thirsty guy. It's wine o'clock.
Thirsty guy. Zoltan, though, before you start sharing your wine and all this other stuff, right? Because I'm gonna let Ariana yourself lead. And since Pedro just came back and he has the over the border, wines, he just snuck in last minute pre-corona that he can't wait to share with us too. He's been excited, like texting me, like, oh, Cha, know this wine? Oh no. I'm like, I'm so happy I have you geeked out about Spanish wine. Whenever you find a Portuguese person geeked out about something Spanish, you go, oh, we're recording this? Perfect, Because
I'm Brazilian.
oh yeah. Sorry. Okay, so you can play the
Brazilian.
I do have the
True.
citizenship. My grandfather was Portuguese, so I'm on paper.
That's the white flag. You get to say, no, I'm Brazilian, so I get to do this.
Yeah,
But
it counts. It
true.
counts.
Drop the corkscrew.
Zoltan, any positive quarantine updates we should know? Are you also doing African dance classes like Nicole started doing from last week?
No, nothing new. Just, watching Netflix, opening bottles, and just chill at home, chatting with friends.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ariana?
Quarantine updates?
Yeah, any positive things going on in your lockdown zone that you want to share with folks?
So many. It's so strange because what's going on outside is so intensely horrible. But since I was, it was recommended to us by the CDC when we got off the plane to stay inside for 14 days straight. I've really actually truly been doing that. And it's so strange because those of us who are quarantined are in this safe pod. And then to read and see and hear everything that's going on is so terrifying and sad and shattering. But at the same time, like, I'm getting so much done. Getting so much done.
Okay, so she's working.
Sleep, things that starting things that I couldn't start before because I knew I wouldn't be able to finish them. That's the kind of entrepreneurial paradox.
The responsible
like,
one. We
so many
respect
things
you.
to start, but knowing you can't finish them, so not starting them, right?
That's
so,
nothing like Zoltan binge watching Game of Thrones for 3 days.
We started The Crown.
Okay.
Great.
The Crown is a big deal. Yeah, in the house right now. Cleaning the backyard, but months before we would normally, but just trying to like get rest, stay super cool and focused, and try to just stay up to date with what everyone's going through out there right now, and then stay up to date with everyone in Europe as well who's feeling this. Try to do that every day as well as keep in touch with friends and colleagues over there.
Julie?
Yeah, actually, there's been a lot of really, at first it was because I have a wine school and an import company. So it was like, okay, orders we were initially going to take from the United States and Australia, kind of had to put a little bit on pause on that. And it's also about what was happening for the rest of the year going, okay, what's going to happen with our events? But, and we were in the middle of level 3, and my students were, first off, I just wanted to see how everybody was doing. So I called all of them, like, everybody okay? And we switched everything online. So I initially just got Zoom, got a subscription, a professional subscription, and moved things online. And I've been sending my students the wines at cost for them. So just say, hey, you all have a core event, so let's do this. So we moved everything online. And then the platform basically is taken off from there. And so we're doing virtual happy hours for our wine club. And then everybody just basically, so I've been supporting a lot of like Spanish and Italian wines and putting together like 6 packs of wine and shipping them out to all these people because we still have the ability to be able to do that. And so just basically riding around, like tomorrow is a day of just heavy deliveries, and it's skyrocketed. The business for that way has skyrocketed, and we're doing virtual happy hour kind of like wine tasting classes, kind of putting it together so that we can connect our community, because here it's kind of like half and half. There's people who are taking it seriously, and there's people who are just kind of like, let's go to the park and go to the beach, and you're just like, okay. And so for the people that are taking it seriously and staying home, I'm just like, you know what, we still need that connection. So let's figure out how to do something and make it fun. So it's not just, taking a bottle and swigging and the whole thing and having, Betty Ford afterwards, but trying to figure out a way for us to keep connected. And so that we're doing our first class on Thursday. I've scheduled a lot of different interviews with different wine professionals and been reaching out to kind of talk about this so we can keep people connected. I've also seen a lot of different wine, like Champagne has had this program that they're offering online for free. Rioja Wine Academy had done that before, but they're offering that. Bordeaux, Burgundy, all these different places are offering these specialized programs online for free. So I've seen a lot of the community give back Jancis Robinson is doing something for hospitality workers where all the all of that's available online for free. And also Gilsom is doing seminars and workshops. So there's this whole thing of the community of wine coming together to try to help not just its professionals who are out of the industry, but also trying to figure out how to keep the people that they already have connected. So I found that to be really the reason that I love this industry, is because it's worldwide and we are very much family all over, and has just solidified that more now, and I really love it.
And you'll see me, I'm always taking notes from everybody. But oh yes, me and Ariana will share about our trip. It's funny, I'm gonna have to post about it because anything that happened last spring is now nostalgic.
Oh, I know.
Now we can't go outside. Me and Ariana was in Spain together last year. This around the same time we left in May. But so it's crazy to kind of think that now we can't even leave our damn houses.
Yeah.
But yeah, Julie, you just dropped some gems.
Yeah, thank you, Julie.
Still fresh. Me and Filipe is on the Rioja Trail right now. Zoltan, you still studying or?
I finished the Rioja. I'm studying the WSET 3. I failed, so I'm now doing again.
He said, I failed, but I'm doing it again. Yes.
The winner, like the winner.
Yes.
I mean,
Right,
this thing I do it with merit. I pass with merit, but looks like the theory, because I do it in English, right? So sometimes when you read from Spanish to Hungarian to English, I think it's a strong thing, but luckily I will do it next time better. I know it's a lot of study, and yeah, you know, I say it, so many people fail and they don't say it, but you know, I'm not proud, of course not, but I think it's a thing you have to say. Sometimes you have to learn more and study more, and I think that's my case.
Contact me afterwards and I'll help you figure things out, because it's all about how things are worded. And I think WSET really wants you to word it a specific way. So we offer like trainings for our students by saying, I want to see how you present your questions and all that sort of thing.
It's happening, guys. We all should be something. We all going to have a bunch of letters by names after quarantine, because we all been like, okay, what's out there? And I think everyone should really take advantage of this. I mean, I don't know what else to say. If you have the money and actually pay for the, oh my God, what was that? I just had a heart attack.
My light reading.
Oh my God.
I was supposed to take D3 in May, but they canceled the test. So I have to, which is upsetting because I really wanted to graduate this year.
You know, right? I wanted to graduate, like simply, I wanted to move on with my life.
Yeah, but we can't take it till October, maybe. So.
Wow. Okay, well, rooting for both of you, Zoltan to retake, and Julie, for you to still keep up your studies until October. That sounds, I mean, D3 is already intense, so who knows? What is D3? Is that winemaking?
No, I've passed every single thing. This is the last one. It's the
this is the last. Okay, last part. Okay.
Wines of the world. It's still wines of the world.
Wines of the world. Okay. You didn't say anything fun you were doing, by the way. You just said everything was related to work. But I mean, if that's bringing you joy, girl, I'm here for you.
What I'm doing for fun is DJ Nice. I gotta drop it.
Oh yeah, let's have a second. Are y'all already following him? D Nice on Instagram?
Oh yeah.
It is amazing.
Zoltan, you the party king, and you not on D Nice Instagram?
I'm going there.
Let me find it, because he might be doing a show.
Go now.
Literally. So D Nice is a DJ from New York City, old school DJ, but now he's literally gone viral on every news channel everywhere because he literally sits, at his turntables. He's at 1.7 million people. He said he had only a following of 200,000 last week. He's at 1.7 million now.
So good.
That's how good his, the DJing live, using live stream free on Instagram. So if you need a party moment, just go to D Nice.
He also
obviously people were going to his Cash App and tipping him because he's doing this. He did one day 9-hour DJ set.
That's
straight.
what I've done. It was
no help. Nobody else coming in. No guests, no shout out. Like sometimes he verbally shouts out Oprah because she just joined the party. But
we should all be doing that.
Like, we got Rihanna in the building. But other than that,
opportunity.
Yeah, but this is a moment where I can say I partied with Rihanna though.
Me too.
Right.
This is a real moment in history right now.
Right.
Okay, so I'm glad Julie's tuned in. I'm glad the rest of y'all now are going to be joining us at the party. Bring the wine over there afterwards. Filipe, tell us what's going on
Bring
in
the wine.
quarantine zone in Bairrada, which
Yeah,
I would have been
well.
in April if this all cleared out. I should be in the region.
Yeah, the second positive takeaway besides United We Taste is that I completed this week the Rioja wine course. It
You
was
finished without me? Oh,
Yeah.
nah, I got to start.
It's quite fun. It's free. You don't pay anything. So it's 15 hours intense. You have the final test. And I enjoyed a lot. I truly recommend to all wine lovers that
Well,
want to
is
do
it online?
It's
Yes.
online. Yeah, you can Google it. Rioja Wine Academy. I can send the link later.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can join in. I've learned a lot about Rioja. I knew something, but I learned a little bit more. And it's really well structured and it's very educational. So I truly recommend everybody to do that. And just to share some information, as you know, in the southern hemisphere now people are going under harvest season, and some friends of mine in Stellenbosch are suffering now because they are on lockdown for 21 days. And some of the wineries haven't completed the harvest. So some people are suffering. They say that probably it's going to be a disaster this vintage in Stellenbosch and in the Cape Town area. So some of the grapes will stay in the vine. So it's going to be.
Filipe, I actually you're already ahead of me. Wanted to do South Africa for next weekend, so we can talk about that offline. But if anybody that's listening, to the peers that's in the group now, look up what's happening in South Africa. It's kind of ridiculous. I'm on the phone going back and forth with one of the winemakers out there now, seeing how, because I don't know which day they are now within the lockdown, but of course this is harvest and they can't go outside.
The lockdown a few days ago.
I have a good friend of mine, and he works in a winery in New Zealand, and he sent me a message this week. He said that New Zealand considered wine like essential, and they liberated for them to work the fields, and now the winery got him a hotel room right next to the winery. He said, like, I'm in the room by myself. I go from hotel room to the winery, and he's there doing the fermentation. He's taking so yes, and he said, like, it's only the staff of the winery itself. It's like I don't know how many people, but less than 10. So that's something. I don't know how the other wineries are working it, but they're definitely not leaving the grapes in the vines.
Shout out to New Zealand for keeping it alive. I mean, South Africa is going to be a whole nother beast, as you can imagine. So anyone that is tuning in, who know connections there, people who want to join us next week, let's have that discussion too. But let's go right into tasting. It's always cool. Like, you want to know who brought what to the party. I mean, for everyone who's watching this, it's on my website, so you can see exactly, get bios on everyone who's speaking, as well as also what wines we brought. So because I am not able to drink right now, I am going to at least give some information about, I'm like, when I show? Okay.
Yeah.
I knew you was gonna get excited. I was like, I know she knows what this is. Niu is from Ribeira di Duelo, and I don't know if you see any action going on down here. This is my dog who wants to join the party. Hey. Christ. So he's here. Thank God there's no open glass in front of me. So 2 reasons why I picked this wine. I'm very familiar with it. I purchased it at the winery, which is the wine shop that I worked at here in New York City. and the details is in on my website as well. And just please understand that I thought that this would be a cool wine to share because it's 100% Tempranillo, and Tempranillo is normally so heavy, and going with a very high altitude region. If you don't know anything about Roberto de Duelo, that's one of the specialties of this area. The vineyards for this organic wine, low intervention wine, is around 900 meters plus above sea level. And so I always used to tell people to drink this wine with burgers. Like, it's for simple food. It's a easy red. It's not like, I don't know who has the Rioja, but I think it's Pedro, right? Oh, Zoltan, sorry. So it's not like Zoltan's Rioja, which he'll get into, but know that when you have a Tempranillo from this region, unless it's Vega Sicilia, right? Ooh la la. So that's what people usually know, the prestige coming from Roberto de Duelo. Vega Sicilia has been there since the 60s, I believe, without anyone else kind of caring too much about the region. And then there are smaller winemakers. This guy's young guy, Jermaine, I believe his name is, right? Am I pronouncing it correctly?
Herman.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he's been doing awesome things. And I think it's going against kind of the big, robust reds that you think of when you think of Tempranillo. So it's easy to drink. The fact that I'm talking so versely about it, and I can actually taste it in my mouth right now without having it, is because this was my go-to wine all the time at one point. It was just like, yeah, this was my house wine when I lived in New York. And I just wanted people to understand Tempranillo in a different way, because I think, especially working on the floor, we're always so proud to pour the big Riojas and the aged ones, which I love. That leathery, meaty smell, which now I'm also getting hungry thinking about, because that wine is such an awesome food wine too, or cheese wine. I always want cheese with Rioja. But this one don't give me that at all. It's fresh, red berries. You get a little bit of that cigar box smoke, but not as intensely as you would get on a Rioja. Some of the main character, or I said the pairing already for me is easy, like anything that's straight off a grill or burgers, like I mentioned earlier. And what else can I say about it? The high altitude is like something I always want people to take into consideration, because the region itself is like super hot because it's not no maritime influence, it's inland, but because it's so cold or in the evenings there, it keeps it fresh. And so the winemakers who do a good job that I love are ones who are playing to that versus excluding it. Like, oh, okay, we have to be like Rioja, because they are technically close, I think within 200 kilometers or so. So in this case, I wanted to share something that was, the price is very affordable wine. It's a 2018. And what's I'm trying to remember, Tinto País, right?
Tinto del País.
If you see wines from Roberto de Duelo with this other name, it's also still Tempranillo. It's one of our favorite groups to have to remember with all the 3,000 names.
Tinta de Toro.
Say it again.
Tinta de Toro.
Say it one more time.
Tinta de Toro. It's actually not necessarily, I think it actually might be I think it is Tempranillo, but technically what it is, it's a different type of breed because it has a little bit of a thicker skin. And so that's why they think it's completely different. But technically WSET makes you say that it is Tempranillo, but realistically,
right,
when the diploma level, they say it's kind of its own thing.
How WSET clashing with each other? Oh my God. Okay, well, for the rest of us who are not diploma level,
yeah,
it's synonymous for us. Julie is dropping gems over here, telling us that once you get to diploma level, they start telling you that there's actually a difference in the strands. Zoltan, have you heard anything different?
The great name Tempranillo, what I know, have different synonyms, but in this case,
particular one, the Tinto del País, being
exactly,
the same or different?
Yeah, normally people use Tempranillo when you are there.
Yeah, isn't it called in Catalonia, isn't it Ul de Lebre?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
There's like a bunny's eye.
Exactly. Yeah.
Julie, this bunny's eye version, is that considered a Tempranillo equivalent, or is that also now a distant cousin?
That's just basically, I was doing a class for my students. Oh, this is more in Toro. The main grape is, that's actually in Toro. Sorry, Toro.
Tinto Fino.
Tinto de Toro is considered by some to be a form of Tempranillo that has adapted to the global climate. But
okay. But Tinto de País is the synonym for Tempranillo in Roberta de Duelo.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so
Tinto Fino is common as well.
Okay, in the same region?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the Duero.
So I think that's something that people normally, if you're not studying this region or looking for Vega Sicilia, then you really are not prone to knowing these other names that they may call it locally. So
what's the Tempranillo here in Portugal, Cha?
Tinto Roriz.
So it is, yeah.
And in the south?
Aragonés.
Yes.
Oh, don't come with me for my Portuguese. I'm on point.
Good
Don't ever come with me by Look, all it takes for you is to live a place in a few months for you to pick up. They like, okay, well, you here now, so forget all those things you know about Spain. So that's me sharing you, small producer, which I can't wait to hear who's next. I only went because I wasn't drinking, but we'll go with the whites. So Julie, you want to go?
Sure. I am drinking Agodeo, and this is from Monterey, which is an area that's
bring you. There we go. Yep.
So this is an area in Monterey. Most people sometimes know about having Godeo there, but also Mencia. They grow a lot of Mencia there and other kind of grapes as well. I hiked the Camino this past summer through there, and I just got to see a lot of the vineyards and a lot of the place. And so I drank almost every single day because you hike and then you're like, give me some wine, And so I love like this melony kind of like lemon on it as well. It's got a lot of like stone fruits on it, which is really kind of fun, but it has the minerality and the acidity inside there, which is really quite bright. I consider it a little bit more full because it gets a little bit ripe up there, but I enjoy it. And this is a producer that we send out to all of our different wine club people because we're trying to represent Spain and so to help all the wineries there. So we kind of choose half and half. So half Italian, half Spanish is what we're doing. And then, when everybody else is, of course, I'm American, I throw some American in there sometimes, but we're trying to keep the people drinking in the areas that they need to. So it's beautiful though, really nice. And what would I put with it? Good question. Even though no one asked. You could put ceviche with this because it has a little bit of sweetness that kind of matches with it and the acidity with there. Or pulpo. Octopus is very, very kind of thing. They kind of put it on the la plancha there where they kind of just grill it there and they just put a little smoked paprika on top and it's perfect with it.
Just have a moment that she said she kept Godelia on deck as she was hiking. Like, is that?
Not in my pack. Just every single time you'd stop. I mean, that would be excessive.
I'm imagining you with the book bag with the tube in your mouth and it's like straight up. I'm like, how is this helping you walk the Camino? And
well, I have books that I read to myself, and so then I would listen as I was hiking, so I can do that. And then when I'd stop, I'd have the wines and stuff. And I was always in charge in our crew of choosing the wine, so that was good. Yeah.
This is the best part about all of this.
Was it chilled in the backpack by any chance?
I was not carrying the wine. Every time I stop, let me just let that fathom go because please believe me, I'm Mexican. We do not know how to pack whatsoever, but like I had to send like 5 kilos home, but even carrying wine would have been too much. I thought about it in my flask, but no, you stop and you have like a bottle of whatever's there and they always give you a bottle with your lunch, but I said, no, let me just have a bottle of something else. And yeah, and these are—
I really want to do the walk, by the way. So, and every time someone shares their story with me, it only like inspires me more to do it. So this is the first time I heard it from a wine professional saying they're doing it, and also the wine that they were drinking along. So this is giving me more context to how my trip is going to go. So thank you for sharing that moment. And I wanted to hear, where did you start the walk from?
I started in San Sebastian, but just to be upfront, I didn't do the whole entire thing. Because I only had a month. So I went from San Sebastian to Bilbao, and then I took a bus from Bilbao to Gijón, and then from Gijón to gosh, my mind is like to the finish to Santiago. Is where I went. And the best place along the way was Villalba, this little place called San Capon. Has this beautiful Michelin starred restaurant. I walked in there like a scrub, like cutoffs and like a tank top in this Michelin starred restaurant. And the lady like went crazy over me. Her husband and her were pouring all these wines, and the whole family, the mother's in the kitchen cooking, and she's the sommelier, her husband's the maitre d'. Go there, it's amazing. And the wine is like, forget it, it's awesome.
We need the details. We need the details. This sounds like a trip.
Yeah.
Ariana, I'm already looking at you like, girl.
I'll come with you guys again.
Oh.
I'll do it again.
Yeah, let's go. Let's all 6 of us. Let's go. 7 of us.
Yeah.
Filipe got a head start. Filipe is in Bairrada. He just going.
Tickets are really cheap right now.
He's just gonna start walking. Actually, to be honest, this is probably the perfect time to do it, because I mean, you're not gonna bust.
They closed it down. My friend, they closed down. They don't. All the pensions and everything are closed down.
Oh, okay. I'm like, this is the. I feel like every day, anywhere I go, feel like the damn El Camino, because I don't want to get on the bus, the subway, nothing. So yeah, please share the details. Yes, share the details for that restaurant for us, because I got to plan out. I think I'm going to start from Portugal, to be honest, and Goldea, I think it's from originally Galicia, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, Monterey is in Galicia. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's Gouveia here here in Portugal, Douro especially.
It's the same grape?
Yes.
Just
Well,
I think someone told me this is not the
we're talking
same.
about Tempranillo.
Let me look it up in my book.
Okay, someone told me, well, again, it's a little bit different in the book, because when you're in Portugal, they like telling you this is not the same. Like if something is, it's in Spain, they're very serious, but it makes sense, just like the Albarino and Alvarinho. But this is a good segue into Filipe.
Yeah, there's a grape from Madeira Island, and that they say is the same grape that they have in Algarve. That's in Madeira is called Tinta Negra, and in Algarve is Negra Mole. Some say that it's the same. People from the Algarve say, no, this is ours, and people from Madeira say, no, this is ours.
They always say that, but it's
here we go.
It's the same. It's the same Portuguese and Spanish grape.
According to who, though?
Jancis.
Oh, Jancis. Our girl.
All right, I think I'm like, okay, what do we give it? Are we saying that it's the same? This is now, we are now the group. Is it the same or is it not? We following Janice? Yes or no?
Yeah, it's the same.
I vote yes.
You vote yes? Look, I'm like, my vote's here.
Is that the Bible?
All right, so it's a consensus. We got a yes.
We swear on Jancis.
All right, we're pro Janice's. Okay.
In this case, right?
Let's make sure that's clear. While she's still giving out free tutorials.
It's a big book, right?
No, but thanks for sharing that one. I don't know the last time I've had Goldeo, to be honest. So now I'm happy to go searching for some once I can get out from this. Where are you purchasing wine in Amsterdam right now? Which stores are open, since it sounds like cafes and everything is still going on?
No, cafes are not going on. Restaurants are
okay.
closed. Everything's closed. Technically, they initially closed it till April 6th, but I was talking with Zoltan before, is that the PM announced that we can't have gatherings of more than 3 persons till June 6th. So what I'm doing is I have a relationship with different suppliers, and so I'm just doing like together. They can call and do this. There are certain wine shops, so I deal directly with the distributors themselves. So I call them, and then there's some other places like smaller wine shops. There's of course the big ones like Albert Heijn and Holland Hall that you can order online, but to keep the smaller guys alive, there's people that are just delivering to there, and you can. We have a great selection of wine in this country. And lots of Vin Nature. We're really into that. We're really into natural and biodynamic wines here. So it's really easy to get it. And for now, we can still deliver. That might change. So I would just, I mean, girl, and guys, I'm fine. My whole downstairs is full of wine. So
Wow. If there's
Lucky
any,
you.
I have a list on my website of wine shops that people can buy from around the world. I started a shareable Google
perfect.
Excel sheet. So if you can just add the ones that you know that's open, I guess, to be honest, whether it's big or small, if you know small ones, that's great to keep them. But just let me know the names, the websites, or even phone numbers, I guess, because people doing over the phone orders. If you drop that in there, I can literally add it to the list.
Great. Yeah, totally. That'd be really great. Also, what I've been doing is, I know it's kind of like off track a little bit, but there's a lot of little things that go with wine, like food. So like there's a lot of like charcuterie people and like great bakers, like artisan bakers. Like there's this really great lady who makes great pâtés and saucissons and whatnot. And so I've just been kind of collectively saying, hey, what do you got? Let's like, ferments and stuff. Let's make a pack and stuff and we can ship it to people. So I've got all that information in Amsterdam, but yeah.
Perfect. Filipe, you have the next white, right?
Yeah, right. So apart all our differences, we have a lot of things that bring us together, starting by the passion of wine. But I brought something together that brings us together, Portugal and Spain. We spoke about it. It's an Albarino. So the Albarino that I bring today is from Zarat, from Pontevedra in Galicia. So as you may know, there's some ideas about where does it come, Albarino. And talking about the wok, some say that some German monks brought from Germany on the 13th century to the northern part of Spain and then to Portugal. So we are using this wine grape in both sides with fantastic results. And the wine that I bring today, it's from the Zarate family, 7th generation producing wine in Pontevedra. It's a very interesting wine, 13 degrees alcohol, and the 2018 harvest. On the color, it's a very beautiful straw, pale yellow color. It's very interesting. Oh my God, it's perfect. In the mouth, you can always feel the fruity aromas. I can feel peach and a little bit of lemon. I really love this wine. It's a wine that goes well with some white meat and shellfish. I will do that. I would say it's a perfect wine to welcome spring. It's a wine that I didn't know it, I just discovered it, and I'm getting fan of it. So hope you enjoy it too. And let's celebrate and taste to nuestros hermanos in Spain.
Cheers.
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 Cheers. I need a little bit more. I need to pour.
It's okay. And we got Filipe in Portugal sneaking in some Albarino, not Albarino. It's okay.
Albarino, baby.
Albarino.
Now you're all making me jealous. Next week, I'm drinking. Now, all right, Zoltan, your wine is big. So I think it's between Ariana and Pedro. Whoever wants to go next to share their wine.
I think Pedro and I both have Grenache, so Pedro, go ahead. Right, we have Grenache.
Yeah.
I think yours is a blend, Pedro, right?
Yes, mine is a blend.
Yep, got it.
So it's called Besti from Bairrada, and it's got a cool story. It's from a mount of Licorella. That Licorella soils are slate and silica sand. So I was really impressed when I was there. I saw the similarity to the Douro Valley, being the schist. And so then they said, like, yes, this is schist, also known as pissarra. And but it has more sand than you have in Douro. I was like, wow. So This one comes from a mount. This mountain is about 1,000 to 1,100 meters high. And they have three wines. They have the base one, like beginning, middle, and end. The one is Inicio. This one is the middle one, the Destino. And the top one is called the Sky, Cielo. And they have on the label like heroic extreme viticulture and heroic viticulture, because it's a 45-degree angle slope on sand schist soils, so it's really tough. They don't have like the patamares and that they have in Douro, so it's really like on that. But here is 60% Grenache, 30% Carignan, and 10% of Syrah. And it's really, I can't get enough of it. Black fruit, plum. We're gonna have a little bit of red fruit as well, and a little bit of like a good tobacco setter as well. Good acidity. This calls from nice. Like a nice grilled red meats, hard cheeses, pizza, pastas, fettuccine, you name it. Just throw it and drink it. And I really love with this wine. Love Priorat.
Cheers.
Pedro, this is one of the producers you visited during your trip.
Exactly.
Did you know about them, or do you serve this wine at Alma, or was this kind of you just doing your own kind of?
No, I called a distributor here, and I was actually asking about Cava, and he's like, no, I don't represent any Cava, but hey, I know a friend that they're almost like in transaction. It's not official, or I don't know what's happening. And he's like, I'm gonna make a few phone calls and let you know. Okay. And so then the girl from Penedès called me, and then I told her, like, oh yeah, I'll be Friday for Penedès, and then on Saturday I'm going to Priorat. And she's like, oh, we do have a project in Priorat. You're gonna love it and whatnot. And then on that Saturday they were closed down due to Corona. But then on that, when I arrived on Thursday, Saturday was canceled. I went to a nice wine store in Barcelona called Vila Viniteca, and the girl there is like, hey, oh, so you're going to Priorat on Saturday? Do you know Mas Deutsch? And I'm like, well, I've heard of it, but I've never been there, of course. And there's like, oh, I know the Valenti, the winemaker. I'm gonna give him a call and let you know. I'm like, okay, here's my number. I gave her my card, and 20 minutes later, she texted me on WhatsApp like, hey Pedro, you got a booking for Mas Deutsch. And I'm like, okay, deal. So then on Friday, I tasted in Penedès all the Cava and the Priorat project, and then on Saturday I went to Mas Deutsch at Priorat. So it's best of all the worlds.
Yeah, I just didn't know if you were familiar with the project before from work or from studies. It sounded like it was something new for you, because I think it is a small producer. How many bottles, give or take, did they say?
Yes, for Priorat, they're fairly new, if I'm not mistaken. It's they acquired it like in 12 or 13ish, more or less, and it's like the first one is about 5,000 bottles. This one 4,000, and the Sky one is less than 1,000 bottles. So yes, it's a little bit exclusive.
Ariana.
And let me see, it 15.5 alcohol.
Oh, I did see that.
Yes. Yes. I sent you the picture.
I was like, okay.
But it's that type of wine that you don't feel it. It's not like, whoa, ooh. No, you're like, and then you look at the bottle, like, 15. Hey, but you do not feel it.
Hey.
Just
No, I
sitting
mean, but
there
seriously.
like it, electric acidity, fruity. If this wine was solid, I'd definitely take a bite out of it.
That should be a t-shirt, a bumper sticker. No, seriously.
Let's make a, okay, so we're gonna wear that t-shirt while we're gonna do our wine hike and
To the Camino.
lunch at Maison Campo.
No, but Purette is special, and I know Ariana could talk in depth about that, so I'm not gonna go and geek out. But just for like 5 seconds, you mentioned about the soil, and that's some of the magic that a lot of us in this industry love. Cookies are done. What was that? I heard like a ting.
So this is
Oh, there we go.
Cinderella.
We'll go back to.
Somebody's like texting me, sorry.
It was like he left the screen right when the ting came in. So I said the cookies is done.
Yeah, it's the Licorella cookie.
Yeah,
Really
no, that's
crunchy.
cool. But I think that a lot of people, when we talk about soil, how many of you are reading or have read Alice Fern book, the one where she goes into the terroir and talk about the difference between the soil. She has a lot of them. I'm actually reading Natural Wine for the People right now, but I forgot the one with the soil types. But it's just the breakdown where she's kind of going, she's going like, let me look at my library. It's with the purple cover, I'm trying to remember. But either way, for people who, I mean, like us, like when you get into soil, it goes wild. I had a whole conversation with the professor. I think he's from Chile. I was, I don't know, Filipe. Oh, you know what I'm talking about. Filipe or Pedro. I don't know if you went to a wine summit last year in Lisbon, but he did a full presentation. This guy is insane. First of all, if he's not the most highest paid person in the top 10 in like vineyard viticulture, like he need to be. Like he's like simply like, no, this grape don't work here. Like look, I tested the soil. I don't know why you even planting this here. Like, and it's kind of like funny because it's like, it really comes down to science. Like, I don't know why are we like, yeah, I had a feeling for Riesling. So I decided, why? But do you want to make money? Like, and there's people who, this is their job, like they are excellent at it, or they study this at length, like this one thing, soils, in his case, and I feel like they don't get enough credit. Those like the silent warriors in our industry, because they're not the ones at the restaurants or get the written about often, maybe in more technical journals, but maybe not so much in the front of magazines. But these are the guys that's making sure the magic can happen at the vineyards because of the work that they do. So yeah, Ariana, if you could type his name up or so. Oh, that's his book?
No, have you guys read this book? I just got it.
Yeah. Vineyards, Rocks, and Soils, The Wine Lover's Guide to Geology. Yeah,
Cha, you're talking about Pedro Pata, and he's finishing his terroir book any moment, if it's not finished already, but he posts about kind of coming into the final stretch. He also makes wine in Chile, so he's got double, triple duty happening. But when his book comes out, it's going to be the first of its kind, really tying kind of almost that prescriptive side of things that you're talking about. Like you're a person who wants a wine of a certain temperament, and you have soil X soils, you need to plant this set of grapes and not plant this set of grapes in order to get the kind of wine that you as a winemaker, as an artisan, want to get. So it's really a new frontier in terms of kind of coalescing the practical side, the artisanship, and the science, it's going to be amazing when his book comes out.
Yeah, especially for the natural wine geeks in the room, because terroir is king, right? We don't, at the end of the day, it's supposed to be actually reflecting the actual where you're from. And so that doesn't mean you can't plant, grapes from other regions, but his presentation that I never knew he was until I actually went to Wine Summit. And so what he made me a believer in, and that's maybe the engineer in me that clicked in and related to him so much, was the fact that, this is science. Like at the end of the day, you want to make great wine, kind of like listen to your land, to your region. And he did it in a very technical way, but it was in a way that you knew he knew his shit. And I think that was more what you needed to understand. Like, you won't know on his level, so hire him. That's what I understood.
Right.
I'm like, and if you can't hire him, study his work and his books that's coming out there. Ariana just typed it correctly, and we will make sure it's on the YouTube. Filipe, can you put Pedro Para in the chat box, just for anybody who listens to this in the future? Shout outs to him and the work that he's doing, and definitely would be one of those signature textbooks for sure for all of us who is in this industry and trying to like be on top of what we need to be learning out there in this with the Sawyer. So Ariana, you're up.
There's so many great things that have already come up that I want to follow up on. It's it's hard to move on. I will move on though, but to my wine. But Cha, first I want to remind you that we had packed a plan to do a communion event in the Priorat, in my favorite little village of Torroja, looking out over the vines with some of these electric slate infused wines and amazing.
It's still gonna happen. I'm gonna bring a group to Spain. It's gonna happen. Now I know Zoltan, so now he gotta show up. Oh God. But
yes, we start at Zoltan's. We have the communion in the Priorat, then we like jump to Galicia and do the Camino. Why not?
Yes. So I do a wine dinner series called a Communion, and I usually pop up in different cities to do it, but I also connect it to my wine tourism group. So when I do a trip, I always end or somewhere in the middle, there's a communion dinner that's hosted the same way that I would do it in different cities. So Ariana and I was already brainstorming on our before even the trip that we had to Spain last year, about how do we make a focus on Spanish wine, which I haven't done yet anyway. So
right.
So let's first do one in New York, and then
Sure.
we'll definitely be in Spain. Tell us about your wine. And
great. So I went with Grenache as well. This is Orlando Lumbreras in the Sierra de Gredos. Milagritos is the name of the wine. Little miracles. We could all use some of those right now, probably.
Nice.
I also love these mountain wines, mountain regions, mountain vibes. Julie was talking about kind of the mountain element that sneaks into the Godeo, and Pedro talking about the kind of energy that's in that wine, even though it's 15.5% alcohol. It's like got so much mojo. I think that comes from a lot of things and not even strictly altitude. Although this region we're talking about here, the Sierra de Gredos, is very high altitude and predominantly Grenache. We're in the Sistema Central, which runs from Zaragoza all the way out toward Portugal. And so we're in the part between Madrid and Portugal, essentially. The Sierra de Gredos is a pretty long region. You start to enter it about an hour and 10, hour and 15 minutes west of Madrid by car. And then you start climbing into one of two valleys. This is in a valley called the Alberche River Valley, and it's in a zone called the Alto Alberche. So within Gredos, within the same mountain range, mountain growing region, I should say, you have a mix of climates. It's all high altitude. It's all very old vines, predominantly granite, but there's also some schist running through. But within that kind of homogeneity structurally, you have more dry Mediterranean mountain villages. You have more humid Mediterranean mountain villages. Out in this area where Orly's set up, Navamoral, it's right by Avila actually, and you have really high altitude vineyard zone, lots and lots of sun, but really strictly continental growing conditions. So it's one of the most austere growing regions I've laid eyes on, and it's really granite boulders, granite sands, and garnacha as far as the eyes can see. Orly is a really interesting guy. He's a sound engineer by day for Spanish National Radio 3. Super cool guy. Music feeds into everything he does. But he fell in love with wine later in life. I mean, in his 40s. He hooked up with Alfredo Maestro, who's a neighbor of his, and started making a single wine with Alfredo and his Gredos project in a village called Navarerondia. Alfredo also works in the Duero, where he's from, but he makes garnacha from a single village in the Gredos Mountains, and Orly Lambrara started making wine with him out there, really got hooked on this mountain zone. Vineyards up to 1,200 plus meters, really old vines, decomposed granitic sands of varying compositions. And this is another zone like the Priorat, like what Pedro was describing, where you have reliably 15% alcohol on a lot of these wines. Some people are working in the vines and in the cellar to get the alcohol lower, but alcohol seems to be like the biggest enemy of elegance in the market, right? So you can't really be serious about presenting a red wine among the most elegant in the world if you're 15 plus, but I think a lot of these regions defy that, right? Priorat defies that. Gredos certainly defies that, where you have this power that's kind of natural to Grenache, but with massive acid to hold up kind of the vertical axis against the alcohol. And then all of those mountain garnishes, right? Like tons of kind of stony mineral character, tons of aerial, ethereal, florals, herbs, plants, mountain air, and everything kind of combines into this really electric, like powerful, but sort of like perfectly balanced package. And so you have here Grenache, 100% Grenache, that's perfect without blending, right? Which we can't say about many places where they can really compete with the top wines of their type without a dash of Mourvedre or maybe a dash of Carignan. You have the acidity, you have the natural kind of elements here to get a perfectly elegant wine.
It's also low intervention.
Yeah, so a category I really like, and this is sort of a combination of personal preference and sort of the long game I feel that we're looking at in probably the market globally, but in New York, where we have just a little bit of everything going on. The natural wine craze is a fantastic gift, I think, to the longevity of the market, starting with, millennials and people, under 40, basically, really going crazy for natural wine. This is a gift, right? And if you can segue that into wines that those people might want to drink later in life as well, getting out of the funkier style into the more classical style. I love kind of this tier of wines that are made extremely naturally, but present very classically. And while Orly likes, he's experimental for sure. There's a part of this that's aged in amphora, blended with a part aged in neutral oak, all fermented in concrete. He plays with whole clusters. He plays with sulfur levels, and in the whites, he plays with extreme skin maceration. So he makes some of the most kind of pungent natural whites coming out of Central Spain.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Actually, when I was looking up the wine, they actually had the white priced higher than the reds. And I was like, for that region in Priorat, a winemaker making more expensive whites. I was like, and then everywhere you looked, it obviously called it orange. So I knew it's, skin contact. Yeah. But I thought that was interesting that his whites were, and I don't think the price point was that much different. And I'm assuming you bring in his wines to New York, New York company. So, but it seems weird to be in Priorat and to value your whites higher than your reds. Just in theory, it didn't make sense. But hearing you talk about his whites now, I understand.
Well, and this is, there's a good reason for that in this case, which is that this is his highest production wine at just over 1,200 bottles. And so this one retails for under $30, depending on, kind of where you're dipping in there quantity wise. But his whites are typically, anywhere from a couple hundred liters to maybe 700-800 liters of wine total. So we're talking like really garage micro vinifications. And back to the natural question, he farms biodynamically and kind of just listens to the vineyards and does whatever they're calling for. He recuperates a lot of vineyards from near abandoned conditions, not even sure if they're going to be able to bear fruit anytime soon, if at all. And so just kind of is really instinctual in the way that he that he farms and gives the vineyards what they need. And then in the cellar, you know, he uses usually below 30 parts per million of sulfur, not like minuscule, but certainly not very high. The vibe of his wines is very natural, free, wild, like kind of uninhibited, but they are very clean wines. They're kind of classically built to age. So kind of treading that line, which I really love, because for Spain especially, I think the same 5, 6, 7 young winemakers get all the press and all the kind of attention, and for very good reason. But there are so many others doing like really serious, future-looking winemaking, while also adhering to natural and organic and biodynamic standards. And I think this is a category we can talk much more about, you know, in the market. But yeah, so like really beautiful, wild, crushed berries, that kind of like joyful, sweet berry fruit that invites you in with any Grenache from anywhere, basically. And then all these wild mountain notes and big juicy acid and, you know, like kind of chewy tannins that you don't usually get from pure Grenache either. It's a really special place.
I'm excited. I know where you live, and it's close. It's close to my quarantine.
Now. I'll leave it outside for you.
It's close, like, you know, Portugal and, you know, Barcelona and everything else a little far. So right now I can actually.
Yeah, we're so close right now. You're right.
For the first time in a long time. So now I can come get some of those wines you've been bringing back. So I'm excited. All right, Zoltan, closing us out.
Good, yeah, I'm gonna be super fast.
With the Spanish wine. With the
yeah, I know we are super late. Guys, I bring you, let's see, it's an iconic.
Muga.
It's an iconic wine. First vintage was in 1969, okay? This vintage, 2011, which I have, it's by James Suckling, top 3 in the world. And Muga, I'm sure most of you guys know, they are doing wines from 1932, okay? And they are in the Barrio de la Estación in Aro, which is the typical train station, okay? And what I love about them, still a family-owned business, very small, and they are creating these iconic wines. And over the world, I think they export now, which makes Spain known around the world, right? I really appreciate all the tiny hidden gems which you guys found. And for example, I didn't know Ariadna's wine. And wow, I learned so much about. But Pedro's one, I wanted to show you this lady. She is who is owning the 2 wineries he was talking about. So I wrote about her in my book. Okay. Yeah, it's a family-owned business, and it's a woman who's leading the winery.
Drop the link on Amazon to your book, please, so we can all be able to
add it to my library.
Exactly.
I have it too. I bought it in Falset.
Yeah, I know. And this is from
you famous.
Yeah. Mas Deutsch. And you know, it's incredible women who's in front of this project. So just the Muga, I'm sure all of you guys know. So I'm not gonna extend this because you know the winery, you know the brand, and this iconic wine finally I think is perfect for me to share with myself now. I'm so happy it's nobody branding me, because you know, these incredibly good wines, I mean, I'm so happy to share, of course, with you, but today I'm so happy to share only with me.
That's the most
selfish.
I love
such a great wrap up. I love it.
Yeah, like, but I love sharing it with me. Like I
sweetie,
and now,
thank myself. Who gonna do it?
No, but talk. I mean, well, Muga. Well, instead of talking about Muga, you can talk about that specific one, because that is. I visited Muga, so that's why I'm also happy. Actually, my tiger's loose. Sorry.
For example,
but no, seriously. Yeah. I visited Muga. I love the family. It's accessible. Obviously, you and I both are in wine tourism, so we know how accessible it is to get to as well. The mailman's here. I don't know, but I think that when I had Muga, like just living in New York City, it wasn't at the level that I was having it when I was at Muga, and I think that you should give it some time just to talk about that particular one.
Yeah. I mean, just to know very fast, now 2011 vintage is 80% Tempranillo, 20% Grenache, and the rest is Carignan, which there is called Masuelo, right? And it's clay limestone and alluvial soils. The vineyards where they picking up this, it's 550 meters. And what is interesting, what they do is 36 months, they wait to the complete aging process. You know, it's Gran Reserva, which here the wine educators, I'm sure you know that. And what I love about this wine pairs, of course, with a lot of meat dishes. I don't know if most of you now can cook all of these dishes, but what I love, some heavy bacalao or some salmon. So fish dishes can go very good with this. Or of course, if somebody here is a cheese lover, for me, I can just live eating cheese and drinking wine. And if I have to choose a wine before I die, I will choose Prado Enea.
Wow.
Thanks, Zoltan, with the
Thank
Muga in the house. You know, but I feel like, you know, there's always like these kind of holy trinity producers that you can't talk about a country unless you like make sure you have that grape or that producer there. So I feel like my heart felt good knowing that you was dedicating your Muga to us, because I was like, oh, okay, good, we got Muga here, so nobody won't curse me out, you know, in the wine world. That all these professionals here, no one brought a Tempranillo or a Muga. I was like, oh God, we're gonna get cursed out. So nah, but I'm happy we did this. But thank you all for those who are watching live with us now, and those who are gonna watch with us in the future. As a recap, everybody's information and what wines we all opened up is on the website, or the link on my website forever, meaning past YouTube. So please go to chamccoy.com. And you can find everyone's information there. So if you want to follow up on how to get Ariana's wine in New York, how to sign up for Julee's school in Amsterdam, you know, or just bother Zoltan to join him on that terrace, you know, just find them on Instagram. Everything is posted on my website. So we're going to log out now. I hope next week.
Yes.
Bye all.
It was a
And we'll
pleasure.
be able
It
to
was a
join
pleasure knowing you,
everyone
meeting you.
from.
Those
Hopefully we're
guys.
gonna do let them do their cheers. I don't have the wine, so I'm gonna let them have their moment.
Thank you, Cha.
Oh, thank you.
Bye all.
Bye all. Bye-bye.
Hopefully
Stay
next
safe,
week
stay
we can
home.
do
Yeah.
South Africa, and I'll have a new group joining us, or those who have access to South African wine can come back. So thanks again, everybody. Logging off now from live.